Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Today's story is a revision of The Fox and the Hound.
Yay!
It's called The Unlikely Friends. The sun was starting to set as Anne Callahan got in her old beat-up station wagon. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, it grew colder and colder. I better get home before I freeze. Pulling down her long dirt driveway, she saw commotion at her neighbor, Tuck Miller's rustic cabin. She rolled her eyes and couldn't help but think of what kind of trouble he was getting into now. It was not a secret that the two didn't get along. Anne Callahan arrived back at her quaint farmhouse and noticed a small figure moving in the shadows. Curiosity got the best of her, and she started investigating. She had expected to find a lost kitten or maybe a rabbit, but to her dismay, hidden behind one of her large evergreen shrubs was a small red fox. "Oh my!" she exclaimed. Quickly she looked around the dimly lit yard to see if its mother was nearby. The only movement was the tall grass rustling in the wind. Out of instinct, she grabbed the little guy and took her into the warm and safe house. She had never married, nor had children, so she had grown quite lonely. Anne decided she would keep the young fox until she was old enough to care for herself. She named her Molly and loved her dearly. Wherever Anne went, Molly went too. Soon after finding her, the first snowflakes of winter began to fall, forcing curious Molly to stay inside. Just as Anne added Molly to her family, Tucker Miller had a new addition of his own. Tucker's main hound dog, Bandit, had grown old, and his replacement was a young bloodhound pup named Ben. After the long winter and when the snow finally melted away, Ben would be taught how to be a hunting dog.
But what happens next?
Patience, Louie. All winter long, Molly waited impatiently for the weather to grow warm. She wanted to explore and go on adventures of her own. The first chance she got, she went out exploring. Venturing off into untraveled land, Molly had no clue she had wandered into dangerous territory. She walked onto Tucker Miller's farm and right into the home of the enemy. Under a large red oak tree, there were 2 dog houses. The owners of the 2 houses were Tucker's dogs, Bandit and Ben. Bandit was trying to take a cat nap, but was finding it difficult because of the racket Ben was making. "I just want to hunt some foxes. Let's go right now." Bandit couldn't help it, but he shook his head, laughed, and said, "Oh, to be young and have energy. Someday soon you'll get your chance. Be patient." Just as the words came out of Bandit's mouth, Ben's nose flew up into the air. He recognized the smell automatically. Fox. Across the yard was Molly, innocently prancing through the grass. She soon noticed the 2 dogs and couldn't help but think, "What are they?" Mistakenly, she began heading over to the strange creatures. At the same time, Ben started leaping towards her. Quickly, Molly realized the dogs weren't friends of hers. Petrified by fear, she was frozen in her tracks. Ben had picked up speed and was ready to attack. The long silver chain that anchored him to the house jerked him back. Molly regained her state of mind and fled from the scene. For once, she was glad to escape into the safety of Anne's farmhouse. As Molly disappeared into the long grass, Ben made a promise to himself that one day he'd catch that fox. Once hunting season began, Tucker and his faithful dogs would spend weekends away hunting. As the sound of Tucker's noisy muffler became softer and then completely gone, Molly knew it was safe to wander off. She still didn't understand why the bloodhound had reacted in such a way. She had only hoped they would be friends. One day, Molly decided she'd wander off farther than normal. She had already become familiar with the surrounding area, and before she knew it, she had ventured far off from the farm and across a small wooded area. Molly was amazed at the many new sights and smells to be taken in while in this new environment. Suddenly, Molly noticed something shiny hidden underneath a pile of leaves. Once again, her curiosity got the best of her, and she went to investigate. While cautiously stepping closer to the unidentified object, a stick fell onto the object and caused it to spring shut. Snap! It was an animal trap. Scared and unsure of what was happening, the next events happened in a flash. Ben had caught on to Molly's trail and was now rushing toward her with Tucker Miller in tow. Tucker had his gun pointed in the direction of Molly, prepared to shoot. Since she was lost in an unfamiliar area, she was clueless to what direction to run. Left? Right? Straight? Ben was almost on her tail when she decided her pathway. By running in a zigzag fashion, she hoped to lose him. He was quick. Eventually, Molly was able to lose Ben. It was only a matter of time before he found her. What do I do? She heard rustling leaves and knew her hunter was nearby. Molly braced herself for what was about to happen. To her surprise, it wasn't Ben who was standing directly in front of her, but a large, aggravated black bear. She didn't dare move an inch. The monster of an animal walked right past her. It was preoccupied with something in the distance. Molly breathed a sigh of relief, but she was not relieved for long. Molly soon realized what object had captured the attention of the bear.
Run, Ben!
It seemed as if his collar had gotten caught on a prickly bush. He noticed the approaching bear and scrambled to break loose, but it wasn't successful. He was trapped. As the bear was approaching the helpless pup, Molly realized she could not sit back and watch Ben become dinner. Without thinking, Molly left the safety of her hiding spot and ran straight into danger. Her goal was to distract the bear long enough for Ben to break loose of the prickly bush. Molly sprinted towards the beast and tried to earn its attention by walking into its line of vision and raced off in the opposite direction of Ben. No luck. The bear continued its prowl towards him. She ran towards the bear and leaped on its back, biting at its neck. The bear roared in anger and began trying to remove the fox off his back, but she had a tight grip. The bear was persistent and managed to break her hold, sending her flying. Molly had accomplished her goal, but now her own life was in danger. Her fall had hurt her badly, and she was unable to move. She was left staring face to face with the bear, its mouth full of sharp and pointed teeth visible, as the bear was preparing to launch a bang, sprang through the forest. The bear's body slumped to the ground, revealing Tucker Miller and his rifle. Tucker then aimed the gun at Molly, and would have shot it if it hadn't been for Ben protectively standing between her and the gun. Move, Ben. But he didn't move an inch. Something had changed. Tucker surprisingly gave in easily. Let's go home. Molly was still wounded and unable to move. Hours passed, and as the sun set, the night grew cold. She had lost hope that she'd ever get back to Anne's farmhouse. She heard footsteps coming and feared for the worst. To her dismay, it was Ben. I couldn't leave you out here alone, Molly replied. I didn't think we were supposed to be friends. Ben laughed. I think we're friends now. You saved my life. A flashlight appeared in the darkness. Ben had gotten Anne's attention and brought her here. Oh, Molly. What happened? Anne quickly rushed her home to nurse her wounds. Months later, Molly ventured over to Tucker Miller's cabin. She knew she'd be safe. Ben and Molly had become unexpected friends. The end.
Oh.